welcome back to another reading. And if you guys are new here, hi, my name is Astra. I am an intuitive tarot reader and I do tarot readings here on my channel. Today I am here with a reading for Mika and Josh. I've been getting a lot of requests to do a reading on them and get into their bond and their current energies towards each other. So I'm gonna get into that. First of all, I'm gonna be looking into their bond. How is their bond and dynamic together? And then I'm gonna be getting into both of them individually and their current energies towards each other. All right, so first let's take a look when it comes to their bond and dynamic. How is the bond and dynamic between Mika and Josh? That was quick. Let's see. So let's see here. Anything else about Mika and Josh? Anything else about Mika and Josh? So here we have the sword and rose and love call over here. Okay, so when it comes to their bond, you guys, I do feel like there is one of them that is more sort of this more quiet, more reserved, more private. They can be like sort of more observant and more controlled when it comes to themselves. And I do feel like the other one is sort of a bit more different than that. I feel like one of them has like mostly this like fiery energy and can be warmer and playful and cheeky or approachable. And so I do feel like they sort of have like these bit differences when it comes to their personalities, but I feel like despite that, they sort of both have like this somewhat private and shyness underneath. And so they sort of are able to understand each other more because of that. All right. And so I do feel like one of them that has like this playful nature was able to help the other person come out of their shell. There is one of them that has like this more calm and grounded nature that sort of was able to balance the other person. And so I do feel like there is definitely a strong romantic attraction and pull between the two of them, and definitely with the Two of Cups, things are definitely mutual between the two of them right now. It definitely does feel like things are mutual between the two of them, and they're definitely at this point in their bond where there has been clarity, truth, and revelation. And definitely with love call as well, they definitely expressed how they feel regarding each other, and you know, definitely things do seem a bit more developed right now when it comes to the two of them. And I also feel like there is like this sense of a very strong physical chemistry that they both share together. And I do feel like that their bond has grown, though. It definitely has grown a lot since when they first met. They definitely have built comfort, and they have definitely built a comfortable and affectionate connection between the two of them. And so I do feel like sometimes there can be differences between the two of them, but those sort of create a magnetic opposites attract dynamic sort of. So I do feel like their bond is full of playfulness, teasing, and banter that they share that is important to their connection. And I do feel like when it comes to their bond, I do feel like there has been times where one of them felt heartbroken, maybe because of past situations that they had or past connections or stuff like that. I do feel like that they felt like they were tied at a certain time because of, you know, a certain heartbreak, and they found it hard to sort of get out of that. But I do feel like one of them sort of was able to help that person get out of that shell, like I mentioned, and they sort of had this bond where they encouraged each other and sort of were able to bring different sides of the other person. But I do feel like that sometimes there can be times where they can have like this stubbornness, where it can sort of create moments where they both sort of like do not really want to back down. And also I feel like communication sometimes can be a bit difficult between the two of them because they sort of process things a bit differently. All right, so that's what I'm picking for my Mika and Josh. I also don't know if I'm pronouncing her name wrong. I don't know if it's Mika or Mika, so I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing her name wrong throughout this whole video. Now I'm gonna get into Mika's current energy towards Josh. Let's see how she specifically feels about him and their connection and all this. So let's see, what is Mika's current energy towards Josh? Guys, so when it comes to her towards Josh, I do feel like that at the beginning when it comes to their bond, she sort of was a bit like behind a wall. Maybe she was a bit more reserved or a bit more guarded, especially at the beginning when it comes to their bond or when they first met each other. And I feel like she can be sort of the person that sort of observes and processes her feelings privately rather than sort of expressing them. I do feel like for her, her independent nature is important, okay? Even like when she cares about someone, she isn't someone who wants to completely lose herself in a relationship, okay? And so when she becomes comfortable with someone, her more playful and goofy side can sort of like come out. I feel like when they first met or when they first started working together, I do see that there was some hesitation that she had personally, or this like sort of emotional stuckness that she was sort of experiencing already, maybe when it comes to her love life or when it comes to herself personally. There was like this thing that sort of was making her feel stuck. I do see that she did sort of like have this interest in him, but it wasn't necessarily in a position that she could act on at the time, all right? I do feel like that has sort of been affecting her when it comes to maybe her personal relationship or connections, that sort of could have made her more cautious already. But like I said at the beginning, their bond does seem like it has definitely developed slowly and gradually. I feel like with the Three of Cups, maybe they could have started as like this friendship or comfort or like a sense of familiarity that they both shared with each other. But I do feel like that she clearly was drawn to him and she cared about him, but she did want to take things slowly when it comes to the two of them. So let's see right now, anything else that Mika feels towards Josh? Anything else that she feels towards Josh? Anything else that she feels towards Josh? Yes, so to pick that, definitely there was like a sense of attraction that had sort of become harder for her to ignore as like they spent time together with each other. I do feel like there is something related to the past, like I keep mentioning something in the past, something that she had sort of still going on for her, and that sort of may complicated the sort of situation that she did have with Josh at a certain time. But definitely she is someone that immediately rushed to sort of define a relationship or a certain bond. But I do feel like that there has been moments with her or Josh where they did stand there for each other. They were each other's comfort. And I do feel like as they worked together, their bond definitely continued getting closer and closer. And I do feel like at a certain point, which I feel like right now, she definitely decided to take like this leap. And right now her energy feels way more subtle and comfortable when it comes to their bond, okay? I do feel like at the beginning there was like sort of this wall that she had, or this sort of being laid back, or you know, putting a bit of a wall. But I do feel like right now there's like this sense that I'm gonna live my life and I'm happy with my choice, and you know, I'm not gonna let anything hold me back. And so right now I feel like they're both figuring out how to communicate and understand each other as they go. They're still, you know, moving forward when it comes to their bond, but something about them is that she does feel really happy when she's around him. All right, next let's see Josh towards Mika. Let's see, what is Josh's current energy towards Mika? What is Josh's current energy towards Mika? What is Josh's current energy towards Mika? Yeah, so when it comes to Josh, I do feel like that he does like have this like warm and approachable and full energy to him, or he can be someone who's socially like adaptable. I do see that underneath that though, he does like have this sort of like shyness or privateness to him, even though on the outside he can be someone that is more approachable, social, and playful, okay? Especially like when it comes to his personal life, I do feel like that he can have like that shyness or privateness in him, okay? I do feel like initially when it comes to Mika, he sort of held himself back while trying to understand like sort of what he was feeling. Like I do pick a sense of undecisiveness or a sense of like observing or watching from afar as well. So he definitely had romantic and emotional interest than just like seeing her as someone that he worked with. There was definitely some intensity that he was feeling. And as they interacted more, the chemistry sort of like picked up, and his playful personality could have made it like easier for him to like sort of flirt or joke or create a comfortable atmosphere for her. I feel like that he thinks very deeply, and so when it comes to their bond, I do feel like that he did start considering like a potential of a relationship between the two of them. Like he didn't really see it as like a casual bond, because this sense of being careful and being patient, and so he was willing to be patient and let things like sort of develop naturally. But I do feel like there's like this sense of him that I want to make things clear from my viewpoint. He's the type to sort of like want to make things clear, say what he's feeling. But he first sort of wanted to figure how he exactly felt on his own first. But there's definitely a lot of attraction does feel towards her. All right, let's see now. Anything else that Josh feels towards Mika? Anything else that Josh feels towards Mika? Anything else? Anything else that Josh feels towards Mika? Yeah, you guys, so when it comes to the two of them, definitely he does have a strong sense of attraction and feelings and emotions when it comes to Mika. It seemed that he particularly got drawn to this confidence, independence, and grounded nature that Mika has that sort of drawed him to her. I do feel like that at a certain point there could have been times where he did feel like there's like a sense of competition when it comes to her, because he did feel like that people around them, or people he noticed that they were like sort of people that are noticing her and are interested in her. So like I said, once he understood what he was feeling and he was fully clear on what he wants, he didn't hesitate to make an action when it comes to the two of them. But he definitely values her highly, and right now as someone that has a meaningful place in his life. I feel like right now their bond is full of comfort and enjoying time together, and definitely learning things as they go. But I do feel like here, the Four of Wands, Ten of Cups, Two of Cups, and the Lovers, that things seem pretty settled between right now. They're sort of like enjoying this like time of togetherness and being around each other, and they're still figuring things as they go. So right now, lastly, I'm just gonna get some oracles for the two of them. Anything else that I can get? Anything else about Mika and Josh? Anything else about Mika and Josh? Else about Mika and Josh? Anything else about Mika and Josh? Interesting, guys. So when it comes to Mika and Josh, definitely things, like I mentioned throughout the reading, things weren't that easy at the beginning. There was like sort of like this sort of chaos that Mika probably has been going through in maybe her personal life or things going on. So like I said, at certain times she could have been a bit more guarded, a bit more, you know, putting like this sort of wall or being a bit careful, okay? Because I feel like that there were certain things that were going in her life here with chaos and conflict. And so when it comes to her bond with Josh, it wasn't as smooth as it is right now, because emotionally she was going through a lot, or there were things happening in her personal life. But when it comes to Josh, he was like sort of like this message in a bottle. Like, I feel like there were probably certain words or certain things that he told her that sort of encouraged her to sort of come out of that chaos and conflict, or to, like, he almost was like this like sort of eye opener. And that's like what I'm sort of hearing, that, you know, no matter like how their bond would have developed, he sort of was almost like this message that was sent to her, that now things are clicking for me. Not that she hasn't sort of understood things before Josh. I'm not saying that, you know, he was the only reason that, you know, she took certain decisions in her life, but he was almost like this person that was almost like this messenger, you know, almost like this person that came, that opened things for her. Almost like, you know, when you see like a sign from something that you need to know something, he was almost like that sign. And definitely out of that, you know, it's almost like they found a treasure in each other. They definitely do see that, you know, right now their bond is almost like this treasure that, you know, even after I came out of the storm, I did end up finding this treasure. I did find something good out of all of that. And so it definitely does feel like it was chaos. Then I got this message. Then I got the fruition of what came out of that situation. So yeah, their bond does seem great so far. I really hope you guys like this reading and it made sense when it comes to their bond. And if you guys like this reading, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you guys would like an updated reading on them in the future, please feel free to let me down in the comments below. But other than that, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye!